So, well, okay, I think we are recording. So, hello, John.
Hello, Olga. Hi there.
So, let me introduce my students. Let me introduce you to John. Say it like that. So, it's our ESL teacher, yes, native speaker teacher of English language. So, John, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your experience? How long have you been teaching?
Yeah, sure. I actually, on and off for about the last 20 years, I first started volunteering in English as a second language classes near where I am, near the Chicago area. Mexican, Spanish-speaking students, Russian, Polish, a few others I forget.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do it for several years in between, like in the 2000s and so, but then I got back into it when I traveled back to Slovakia, which is where my dad's parents came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to visit family, extended family, made some friends there, and I got the idea I could come back and teach English. So I came back the next year, which was 2012 at that time, and I taught for 4.5 months there, students in Slovakia. And well, we'll get to a couple of the things, later when you want to ask me about what happened there. But that's my background there. Since then, I developed my own book of lessons that target Slavic language speakers' basic deficiencies, pronunciation, phonetics, real conversation, usage, those kinds of things. And that's where I'm at now. It's a large book with a lot of lessons. And
yes, so you wrote a book even. So it's like the trip to Slovakia inspired you to write this book just for your students?
Yeah, exactly. What happened was on about day 3, I realized something isn't right because I'm speaking to them like this. They're 25 years old, typically had English for 8 years or something in school. And they knew a lot of grammar, a lot of vocabulary, but kept asking me to repeat, a lot of blank faces. I spoke with no slang, nothing crazy. And I thought something's not right. I couldn't figure it out. If I slow down and speak like a Google robot, then it was okay. So what could it be? Because I can't sit there and speak like a robot for 4 or 5 months. We have to figure this out. And so I analyzed my speech and did some research, more than I had done previously ever. And I realized, yes, we speak with an actually different language. It isn't just gonna, wanna, which is an interesting one. Everyone learns those. It turns out there's about 40 of those gonna, wanna formations, and then another 200 or more other shortcut forms of things and changes of vowel sounds, combining of words. It's just a different language. And I started writing lessons with that in mind. And I have some of that material from then, even still in the current book.
Okay. Well, so you're, I think for English students, talking to a native speaker is the main concern, the main fear. But I think it's more of a speed of the speech. As for me also, I was so afraid talking to native speakers because it was, oh my God, they are talking so fast. So it's the first part. But then you figured that it's, well, not only the speed, but also the way native speakers talk. So you teach all that, you just like decompose all of it into like in elements, and you teach little things so people can understand that.
Yeah, I understand all of that. I teach, first of all, the real phonetics, the basic things we start to learn here as first graders, and we add to that a little to make sure that we have the whole body of sounds. It turns out there are about 10 to 15 sounds that are not in Slavic languages that you need in English. Some are related to each other, so you learn them in groups a little bit, but you have to have them or you create different words when you speak.
So yeah, accent is another different, interesting topic. So, well, I bet people in Slovakia, they spoke with an accent.
British influenced plus the European, Eastern European. So yeah, right, different from American English in a couple of ways, yes.
So, well, as European, well, does it sound terrible when a person speaks with an accent, with a foreign accent?
No, not at all. It can. It depends on how thick and how much the person wants to ignore phonetics entirely. If you do that and you just apply Russian phonetics to what you see in English, as if English vocabulary is Russian vocabulary you just didn't learn in your life, then yes. But just to have an accent, no, it's, I know many people who I never question what they say, but they have an accent their whole lives because it's something about how much you sharpen it and how close you get. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be very good, excellent, with some intention about what you're speaking and the mechanics.
Yeah, because we often mix up two different things, pronunciation and accent. So accent is fine to have an accent, yes, but pronunciation, when we are, for example, saying braza and sista.
That's a good word.
So this is probably, the thing, like your main focus is like to put people to on a right pronunciation, yes, like the sounds, yes, how they're made, but accent is a little bit different, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so your courses are not accent reduction courses, just like focus.
They can be, if you want to treat it that way and that's your goal and to perfect things, it can be. It doesn't have to be though. Yeah, you absolutely can, and people do who obsess over those details and want that result. Yes. I don't generally teach with that intention, because the basic intention is to use the language effectively in all four media: speak, listen, read, and write. And they're all interconnected. And it doesn't require perfection or accent elimination, not at all. In fact, accents are a part of a charming and wonderful personality and about who you are and where you come from. And I actually recommend against eliminating it.
Well, what level should it be to start working on pronunciation and accent parts? At least with you, from what level do you accept students?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't know an exact answer with the levels that are used in these official rankings. I'm not very familiar with where that would put students, but I do know I have not been able to work with true beginners. I would ideally like to take, 10-year-old kids who are starting, and let's give their brains the basic phonetics the right way from the start. But I've tried several times, and because I can't stop and explain everything in Russian or Ukrainian or Polish, it won't work. So you do have to have some basic background a little bit.
Vocabulary.
If you can understand half of this conversation, you're probably okay to work with the things we do.
So starting like from intermediate level, yes, students.
Something in the middle. So just so you can understand things when I explain, something with where to put the tongue, where to look on the page, what we're working on today, and do some basic reading. If you're at that level, that's perfectly fine.
Well, I think that this video will be a good test. If you can understand this video without any subtitles or any pausing, it's probably enough for starting classes with you, John, right?
Oh, it doesn't have, you probably don't need classes if you can do that. If you can understand, I'd say half or more of what we're doing here. First time through, half of it, sure, that would be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so what about something that everyone wants to learn, like I think conversational language? So do you do conversational classes too?
Yeah, that's in the later part of the program. We have to start with the basic phonetics and some of those nuances and get that on the right track. And then I actually redo a lot of what I call the basics. People think it sounds funny when you look at the titles of the lessons: the alphabet, the numbers, fractions, colors, shapes. I know the shapes, I know the numbers. Of course you do. It's not about the vocabulary. It's about pronouncing it and using it correctly, and the formatting and listening comprehension. And I've noticed even excellent students struggle with many areas of that, or at least sharpen it as we go through it. And then after that, we get to the real conversation, what we chop up, what we combine together, what vowels we change and why, and start to smooth that out. And really, it's about training your intuition. After some of these lessons, your brain will start to know when we drop the leading H or the leading TH and what words combine together. It'll feel smoother. You'll know where the stress is in words, because your intuition will have that finally. And then usage is the other part in the end. Make and do and why, and some technical writing and everyday use of numbers and how we speak addresses and phone numbers. It isn't what you think. It's not on paper, what you look at and think. Yeah.
Well, so your course has like a structure, yes? What you follow, yes?
Yes.
And it goes like your book is structured this way, and you go through the book. Yes, that's what you said.
Yeah, you can change after the first few lessons. You can change direction with different students a little, and you might skip a couple with some students, but generally, yes. Yeah, pretty.
So first is basics.
No, pronunciation.
Pronunciation is first.
First handful of pronunciation lessons where we iron out those sounds that are not in Slavic languages. Yeah, then after that, you can start to vary a little.
Basics like
some basics work in there, right?
Numbers and stuff. Okay, and then conversational parts, which are
and conversation and usage. I start to alternate those second half
and stuff. Kinda. Okay.
Okay, so, kinda's in there.
Do you give it any slang? Because it's also everybody asking for slang.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. In the conversation sections in particular, many phrases and words and how they're used in slang with dialogues and some fill in the blanks and other things.
And do you teach how to use them, when to use them? Yes, because, well, as a native speaker, and you hear a lot of, non-native speakers talking, some teachers, they don't recommend use slang until you're a level like advanced, because it may sound very funny when you're barely can speak and you're trying to put some slang in there. So what do you think? They should embrace slang forms and try to use it, or it can wait?
I think it's more about your personality. If you don't care about that, then have at it. Go ahead. Sound a little funny once in a while, because if you don't care, then awesome. You're going to learn it just fast enough and it'll be great. If you're a little more reluctant because of your personality, then wait until you hear it a few times and try to emulate what you hear. And that'll work very well and easily. You know, even the same phrases and sentences where they use the word, when did he call his car a ride? Oh, I get it. It was in this situation, and try to repeat what he said.
Yeah, I think the slang is the tricky part, because you have to know when to use it, how to use it, with in what situations, because
yeah, it's very situational.
Puts you in awkward.
If it bothers you to sound a little funny and you don't want to, then don't do it. Just listen for it, and then you'll start to emulate what you hear. But if you don't care, if you're a little bold about it, go ahead. It's
Okay.
And see what people's faces might react. And
yeah, okay. Well, do you correct your students when they try to use slang on a class and it's not appropriate?
Yeah, I selectively correct certain things that I think are the most important for the student. So I let a lot of things go as we're speaking or doing things, but then I call attention to a lot of certain things that they might not expect. As far as the slang use, yeah, I'll make a comment if it's about the usage. Yeah.
Usage, yes.
Yeah, about this. Yeah.
Sorry. So what mistakes you don't correct?
For example, if we're working on like the aw sound or the short I sound, and that's really our focus, but someone has this problem with trailing consonants, not maintaining the voiced sound or endings, I might let some of those go, because right now we need to work on that other primary focus. Certainly usage, things like that. So if someone says he does mistakes or he made his homework, I let that go, absolutely. If we're working on phonetics, those kinds of things, yeah.
Well, how about grammar? Because, well, most of non-native students, they care about their grammar too much. I think too much. Well, is it important, or you also let the grammar mistakes go also, just, you know?
I let a lot of those go almost entirely in speech, unless they're just grossly bad, you know. But in writing, I have some free writing exercises a little where you have to use certain sounds or words and sentences just to keep the vocabulary going with your head and practice it a little more, but to have a little free writing and creativity. In those, I will correct for grammar just so that they know. But those are small parts of larger exercises. It's not my focus. I do think you need it. The only reason I don't teach it is because it's everywhere and you can get the material.
Well, yeah, like grammar is probably the part, well, everybody's favorite part, because it's, well, easy to, to learn on your own. Yes, but the pronunciation and slang and usage, you can't really, learn on your own, because it's, it should be supervised, let's say. Yeah. So, so if a student here and there makes some grammar mistakes, that's not critical.
Oh, no, of course not. Very few of them are truly critical. People will understand those. Usage and pronunciation mistakes that cause different messages and cause nonsense, really, half English, half nonsense. We might get to that concept too. That's what a lot of it is the result.
Okay, I see. Well, and another question I want to ask you today, John, are you a strict teacher?
Well, how are we defining strict? Do I wrap anybody's knuckles with a ruler or a yardstick like the old days? No, I don't do that.
We can do it because we are online teachers. Or do you do offline classes too?
Yeah, I do. So I do in-person lessons in this area too, and online, of course, for most. Mm-hmm. So even when I'm in person, I don't actually strike anybody, but
yeah, you don't.
Yeah, I do hold people to very high standards. I do practice very with detail-oriented approach and attention to what we do. But I realize the real life result is less than that. So deal with it when we're in the lessons. Be on your toes. Be strict. Have your homework done. Let's practice well. Let's try to be perfect. And then real life is something less than that because it's going to be. That's natural. But aim for it in lessons. Yes. But so, then I know students outside of lessons in a casual way where we've gone to dinner or something socially, and I don't correct a single mistake. I don't get on anybody about anything. We just, you be people in life at that point. It's outside of the lesson. Yeah, exactly. Okay, yes, but, well, to some extent, yes, I agree, because students have to prepare if they want to get the result. Yes, they have to prepare for the class, and then they will succeed sooner. Also true. Yeah. So you require best preparations. Yes, so they do their best on the classes. Well, required to the extent I can, because I am no one's father exactly. We're all adults and we have to do our own thing. But
actually, so what are the ages of your students? The age?
I've had all ages. There are some examples of children.
Oops. Okay, so you said you have different ages.
Yeah, all ages really. I've had children even a few times, and I've had very old adults sometimes, but mostly it seems like people between 20 and 35 is probably the most common students. But I don't have an age requirement or anything. It's young or old if you want to do it.
So you do individual or group classes as well?
Strongly prefer individual, because that's really the way to teach phonetics and some of these other concepts, especially the harder conversation, the right way. I've done it in small groups, but it's very hard and it compromises the results.
But if we work like strictly on phonetics, you mean, yes?
If it's the program I teach and we start with a phonetics, it really needs to be individual. Some pairs are okay, but then everyone has to be present each time. As soon as someone falls behind with homework or what we've covered, now you have a problem, because everything builds on itself. We constantly build on the previous lessons.
Yes, it's not the thing when you just can listen to the recording and like, oh, okay, it's all clear for me. Yes, you actually have to.
It would help, but no, it's not, right? And it's not like yoga class where if I go, I get the benefit. If I skip, it's okay. I'll just get the same thing next time. It's not like that. It's a constant increasing ramp up toward where you want to be. So if you can be with your partner.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So what is the average duration of your course?
Average is probably 6 to 9 months. On the low end, theoretically, if we met 3 times a week and you kept up with all the homework and practice, about 4 months, I think, is theoretically possible, but no one has done that. A couple have come close. Real life gets in the way where, you need to have some time off or reschedule some things. So that's about the minimum, 4 months if you really attacked it heavily. Otherwise, though, 6 months, 9 months, it can be a year. People have stopped and come back a year later to finish things, depending on your own, your real life and so on.
Okay, well, thank you, John. I think, we have learned you more, yes. Some of my students, they have never met you, but they would like to, I know that a lot of people would like to have practice with native speaker and have a native speaker as their teacher, because of course they realize that, well, you have to learn English from a native speaker, yes, at some point, yes.
At some point, right, yeah.
When they're beginners, yes, I also prefer just to Well, to explain topics and put the basics like in my using my own language, because it's faster and it's, how to say, well, I can guarantee that they understand me. Yes,
Okay.
so correctly and the way I wanted them to understand me. Yes, and then yes, of course, at some point, students really need some practice with well, native speakers in general. Yes, they need to go to the environment, but also have a native speaker as a teacher. So that's what we do. Yes, right. So with our groups, part of lessons they're taught by me, and part of classes are taught by you. So, well, this is kind of how to say them. How we do it in our school. So yeah, thank you very much for being here with us today and answering my questions. Well, I hope now students you understand what at least if you understand not like 100% of today's video, but the point that we were trying to put across. Well, I think you can try yeah, working with John. So it's, yeah, and
Yeah.
yes, in 6 months or so, you can be really seeing your results.
Right? Oh, you'll see some results. And I have a student right now who has started at quite a not so great of a level, living here in the US. She's from Moldova, Russian speaker. In a month and a half, she doesn't have to repeat her name with anyone. She can spell her name once, her last name, because the last name's a little tricky. Like now it's a native speaker. If I had her last name my whole life, I would have to spell my name every time. So she has the same proficiency as I do with her last name, basically. Yeah. And other practical things at her job. And it's amazing how she reads much cleaner and much more precisely suddenly. Like this is only a month and a half, but she practices. And
wow.
she meets 2 or 3 times a week. Her practice, it shows. I know when you practice and we show up the next time and wow, suddenly we have this, we mastered this. This is great. With her, it's like that. So,
oh, we didn't mention one fact that, well, I used to be your student.
Okay.
You told me that if I can go and well, order drive-through food and stuff without repeating myself, then it's like kind of like a pass.
Yeah,
of course. Well, yes. Now people don't ask me where are you from straight from the beginning of the conversation, okay. And only if I mention it, like for example, I would say, well, in my country we don't do, for example, Christmas like that, and they would say it was Uber driver, and she said, "What country?" I thought you were from here. I said, "I'm from Russia." She said, "I would never be able to tell that you're from Russia." It's like, wow.
How about that? That's different from the last stories you told me. You told me once an Uber driver just assumed you were Russian after you answered one question with like a yes or no or something.
Yes, yes, exactly. When they're like, "Hello, how are you today?" And then I say, "Yes, I'm great." And then say, "Where are you from?"
Oh yeah, right. It was like that, right?
So now we went from there to the point that, well, she said, I would never guess, because most of people say, "Oh, from Russia. Oh, okay, it's interesting. Yes, I was thinking about your accent. It's like, I was wondering where you're from." But this one person said, I would never tell. You're not from.
Oh, interesting. How did that feel at that moment?
Yeah, I was very flattered.
Yeah, right.
To tell you right away, but well, I'm telling you now. Okay. Well, so again, well, John would be, I think, a perfect teacher if you're ready to work on your result. And yeah, John will definitely, well, help to get you through this faster. Yes. And he has the structure and the book. And yeah, I know this book. So if you have a question, yes, ask us in YouTube and Instagram. I will put this video in both. Okay, thank you, John.
Okay, you bet. Thanks for having me. I wish everyone the best of luck and hope to meet many of you in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, bye.